Amara, a successful diplomat in Abuja, never imagined that her love for Joseph, a man with a past full of secrets and dangers, would challenge her life. As unknown threats and Joseph's dark secrets are revealed, Amara must decide whether their love can overcome these obstacles or if the wounds of the past will separate them forever. Amid political complexities and hidden dangers, their love is put to a great test, one that will determine their future. Amara, a strong and determined woman, worked as a senior diplomat at the Nigerian embassy in Abuja. After years of hard work and dedication, she had reached this position and earned a reputation in the world of politics and diplomacy. However, her personal life was devoid of love and intimacy. At one of the diplomatic events held at the embassy, Amara met a man named Joseph. Joseph was a former senior advisor in the government, but after a major scandal was exposed, he had suddenly stepped away from the world of politics. He was a charming and mysterious man who rarely spoke about his past. Joseph's intense eyes captivated Amara from the very first moment, but she hesitated to trust a man with an unknown past. She never wanted to reveal her feelings in the complicated work environment she was in. But Joseph was calm and unpretentious, and he seemed to understand her well. Over the next few weeks, Amara and Joseph met under various pretexts and had long conversations about politics, culture, and life. Each conversation drew Amara closer to Joseph, and she couldn't ignore her feelings. In one of these meetings, Joseph confessed to Amara that he had admired her for a long time. Amara was filled with doubt after hearing this. On the one hand, she had grown fond of Joseph, but on the other hand, she didn't want to get involved in a romance that could jeopardize her career. She would stay up late at night, pondering whether she should let her feelings take over. On one warm and humid evening in Abuja, Amara decided to find out the truth about Joseph. She conducted extensive research and discovered that Joseph had been forced to leave politics due to his fight against government corruption. This revelation surprised her, making her feelings for Joseph even more complex. Amara couldn't ignore this information and decided to confront Joseph about his past. She asked him to tell her the truth, but Joseph initially avoided answering. He knew that revealing his past might drive Amara away. Finally, during a private dinner at a quiet restaurant in the city, Joseph opened up to Amara. He explained how his efforts to expose government corruption had made him many enemies and how it had led to him losing everything. Amara felt a mix of sympathy and fear as she listened to his story. She knew that Joseph had selflessly fought for justice, but at the same time she was worried that this tumultuous past could disrupt the peace in her life. Amara had reached a critical point in her life. She had to decide whether she could build a future with someone who had such a history. A few days later, Amara decided to trust her feelings. She told Joseph she was ready to start fresh together, but only on the condition that honesty and transparency would be the foundation of their relationship. Joseph gratefully accepted this offer and promised never to hide anything from Amara again. Their relationship deepened day by day, and Amara realized that Joseph was not only a noble and righteous man, but also someone she could trust. But this newfound love soon faced a new challenge. One day, Amara received an anonymous letter filled with threats against her and Joseph. The letter terrified Amara, and she immediately showed it to Joseph. Joseph calmly explained that these threats were likely from his old enemies, who were still seeking revenge. Amara didn't want to believe that his dark past could still affect their lives. Joseph assured Amara that he would protect her with all his might, and that she would never face this battle alone. However, Amara knew that these threats wouldn't simply go away, and they needed to find a way to deal with them. They decided to report the threats to the authorities. While the authorities continued their investigation, Amara and Joseph decided to leave Abuja for a while. They moved to a small coastal town to find peace and think about their future. This short trip brought them closer together, strengthening their love even more. One calm night by the sea, Joseph proposed to Amara. With a heart full of love and hesitation, Amara accepted. They knew the future would be full of challenges, but they believed their love was strong enough to overcome anything. When they returned to Abuja, they were met with surprising news. The authorities had identified and arrested those who had been threatening Joseph. Amara and Joseph breathed a sigh of relief, but they knew they had to remain vigilant. If you have come this far and you liked the video, be sure to like the video and let's continue the story. Life returned to normal, but this time Amara and Joseph were stronger and more united than ever before. They decided to leave the past behind and look to their future with renewed hope and trust. Their love had become an unbreakable bond. A few months later, Amara and Joseph had a small, private wedding ceremony. Close friends and family attended, witnessing their extraordinary love. Amara was more beautiful than ever in her wedding dress, and Joseph stood beside her with pride and honor. After the wedding, Amara and Joseph decided to establish a charity foundation to help those who had fallen victim to corruption and injustice. They wanted to use their painful experiences to help others and create a better world. The foundation quickly became one of the most reputable charities in Nigeria. Amara and Joseph were now known as an exemplary couple in Abuja, not only for their personal life but also for their social impact. Their love and commitment to each other and their community inspired many. They understood that true love wasn't just about happy moments but also about facing challenges and hardships together. 1 year after their marriage, Amara and Joseph's life reached a point of stability that made them believe they had overcome all their problems. But just when everything seemed calm, Joseph began receiving threatening messages from an unknown source. The messages were filled with vague statements that seemed to stem from his past. Amara tried to stay calm, but it was clear that Joseph was worried. These messages gradually turned into phone calls, and every time Joseph answered, a threatening voice would address him. Amara knew she had to take this seriously, but Joseph was determined to handle it alone. Days passed, and the psychological pressure from these threats took a toll on Joseph. He couldn't sleep at night and struggled to focus during the day. Amara gradually realized that Joseph was no longer the strong and confident man he used to be, and this deeply concerned her. One night, when Joseph returned home, he had bruises on his face. He spoke of a street fight, but Amara knew that this was more than just a random incident. Joseph refused to explain further, which only added to Amara's worries. One day Joseph, visibly distressed, told Amara that they needed to leave the city for a while. He felt that he could no longer protect his family from these threats. This sudden decision made Amara realize the severity of the situation. Amara, unwilling to leave Joseph alone, agreed to his proposal. They decided to move to a small village far from Abuja to find some peace. This relocation seemed like a temporary solution, but Amara couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much larger disaster. In the village, Joseph began to exhibit strange behavior. He would lock himself in a room for hours and rarely spoke to Amara. These sudden changes worried Amara deeply. Every night she prayed for Joseph to return to his normal self, but each day the situation worsened. Amara decided to find out the truth. One night, while Joseph was in a deep sleep, she took his phone and checked his recent messages and calls. What she saw shocked her. The messages were full of direct threats to both Joseph's life and hers. Amara realized that Joseph couldn't handle these threats alone. She decided to go to the police and file a full report of the situation. When Joseph learned of Amara's actions, he was initially furious, but he quickly realized that there was no longer any room for secrecy. The police quickly launched an investigation and advised Amara to move Joseph to a safe location. Amara had no choice but to send Joseph to a safe house on the outskirts of the city, while she stayed alone in the village. This separation was extremely painful for both of them. Amara's days of solitude in the village passed slowly. She waited anxiously for news from Joseph, but their communication was severely limited. The police were diligently investigating, but no results were forthcoming. This uncertainty left Amara consumed by anxiety. One night, Amara heard a strange noise outside her house. With her heart pounding, she cautiously approached the window and peeked out. In the darkness of the night, she saw a shadowy figure that quickly disappeared. She felt the threats were getting closer to her. The next day, Amara informed the police and requested more protection. The police increased their patrols in the village, but Amara still felt unsafe. She didn't know who or what was threatening her, but the fear was slowly taking hold of her. Meanwhile, Joseph was also on the verge of collapse in his safe house. He insisted that the police help Amara, but he himself couldn't reach her. This situation drove him to the brink of madness, and he felt a deep sense of helplessness. One day, Amara received a message asking her to go to a remote spot in the village at a specific time. The message claimed to have important information about Joseph. Despite her fear and concern, Amara decided to go there to find out who was behind all of this. When Amara arrived at the designated spot, she was met with a face she never expected Joseph. She was both shocked and worried. Joseph, with a look of deep regret, confessed that all these threats had been part of a plan to deceive his enemies. He begged Amara to forgive him. At first, Amara didn't know how to react to this confession. She felt betrayed and deeply angry. But when Joseph explained that this plan had been devised to save both of them from real threats, Amara began to calm down a bit. She still doubted whether she could trust Joseph again. With tears in his eyes, Joseph begged Amara to give him another chance to make things right. Amara, who had a deep love for Joseph in her heart, reluctantly agreed, but she warned him that this was his last chance. Joseph promised to make amends this time. They returned to Abuja with the police to confront those who had been threatening Joseph. Joseph eventually had to reveal the full truth, which even left Amara stunned. The police were able to arrest a network of corrupt individuals who had been behind these threats. After this ordeal, Amara and Joseph realized that their love had remained strong despite all the hardships. They decided to rebuild their lives with complete honesty this time. Although the wounds of the past had not yet fully healed, hope for a brighter future began to grow in their hearts. Can Amara trust Joseph and continue her love for him after discovering that all the threats and suffering she endured were part of Joseph's plan to deceive his enemies? Or will this deception completely shatter her trust in him? If you like this story, I will be happy to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell and wait for the next video that we will share together. Take care until the next video.